Welcome to the Dice Tower, a podcast all about board and card games and the people who play them. This episode, number 22, is part of our Classic series and was originally aired on October 26, 2005. In this show, we'll be talking about our top 10 auction games from that year. And now, here's your host, Tom Vassell.
Well, welcome. This is Tom Vassell, and it's been a while since I put out a classic episode. I've been kind of caught up in the videos, and I think that's going to continue for a while. However, I'll try to keep pumping these out at some kind of decent rate. Well, we'll see. I guess exciting news. If you haven't yet checked them out, go check out the 2008 Dice Tower Gaming Awards. Go check them out, and they're on the website at www.thedicetower.com. But you're here to talk about episode 22, which is we did a couple things in this episode. One of the things we did in this episode, and I did it a few times after, and I won't do it again, was the fact that we did a split top 10 list where I talked about one thing, auction games in particular, and Joe talked about another thing with war games. And yeah, I've decided that since that's kind of confusing, and so I'd rather just have one topic for the theme of the show. So anyway, we'll get into the show now. But man, I'll tell you, in this show kind of cemented part of the fact that I was the straight man, which isn't necessarily true in real life. I usually Joe was more the straight man, and I was the funny guy. But on the show, I was a straight man, and Joe sure played it up in this episode. I would say a good 20% of the things he said here were simply just to rile me up. Go ahead and listen.
Well, hello, this is Tom Vassell.
And I'm Joe Stedman, and we're having technical difficulties.
Oh, man, we have a new computer, and it doesn't record as loud as the other computer did, and we're just...
the gremlins are working today.
We're not recording in real media. Anyway, it's been I don't know, I think we spent 20 minutes just setting up
More than
the
that.
Audio stuff. Normally
Usually we just go.
Yeah, we're very, very ad-libish. But anyway, I'm Tom Vassell.
I'm Joe Stedman.
And we'd like to welcome you to the Dice Tower episode 22.
Ooh, 22, man.
Double digits, same number.
Do you remember when you turned 22? Was it last month, right?
No, it was quite a while ago. Joe's in a feisty mood
I'm not
tonight.
in a feisty mood. I'm just...
Hey, but this is a good show for you to be listening to, especially if you listened to our last two shows and entered the contest.
Yeah, we had a great contest.
Because we were giving out a game called Fire in the Sky.
Fits.
Which is lightning. Or, actually, Joe, tell a little bit about the game real quick so the people who are about to win know what they've won.
Well, Fire in the Sky is multi-man publishing. It's it's the Pacific Theater, World War II. It's a Japanese game that was translated in English, commonly known as Fits by wargamers. It's a real great game, widely loved, and you got a chance to win it. Too late now if you haven't entered the contest, but...
Right, well, we actually had a lot of people who entered the contest.
Yes, we did. Very, very excited about the number of people that entered. And every time we do a contest, there's more and more people enter. That's encouraging to me.
Yeah, it is. Now, the way that the contest worked this way was that you had to tell us the top 3 wargaming or wars, the top 3... Well, Joe, give us the contest entries.
All right, you could either get one entry by telling us the big 3 battles that were wargamed, that game's made about. Or you could tell me you could tell us you could tell us the 3 most warred games or areas or times in history. And then the third way was by giving us a tagline. And the taglines were quite funny. We'll talk about those more later.
So if you entered at all, we gave you 1 entry. So
yeah, we were merciful.
We have several entries here, more than 2. And some of you got entered once, some of you twice, some of you 3 times. So everyone has a chance to win, although everyone's chance to win is not equal.
Some of you will have 1 entry, and the most you could have is 3 entries.
Right. Now, Joe's going to give us the correct answers, and that will help you know how many entries you got.
Well, see, me and Tom have been talking about this all week. He keeps on saying, according to me, but these are just the widely accepted things. And, it's my show, it's Tom's show. We can have it. This is the right answers. That the top 3 battles, the top 3 battles were Gettysburg, Battle of the Bulge, and Waterloo. Those are probably the most commonly gamed games. And
I did, however, get at least 25 entries that said Normandy. So I'm going to have to think that that's probably...
D-Day, Normandy, that's... That's probably, they're really, really close, but you got to break it up a little bit. And then the big three battles or wars were American Civil War, World War II, and Napoleonics. And so
Which, coincidentally, those three battles came from.
Yeah, go figure. So
now, guys, I would have given you Normandy, but Joe's the boss of this one, and he said no. So.
Yeah, I said no.
Sorry.
Tough it.
So anyway, we have
because it really ticks me off.
we have several hundred. What do you call
entries?
200 entries. So Joe's going to roll 3 times for the first 100 and 3 times for the second 100.
Right.
And so we're going to call out. Well, here's how it's going to work. He's going to roll 3 times in the first 100, and we're going to get 3 names from that, and then 3 times in the second 100, and we'll get 3 names from that. Then we're going to roll off and get 2 names, and then from those 2 names we'll pick the winner.
And we actually have a dice tower with us this week, so it's actually not even a dice tower; it's a dice boot. So
right, but a dice boot is a small dice tower.
Right. So there you go. Are you ready, Tom?
Okay. This is the first from the first 100.
Here we go, and the number is number 59.
Number 59, and that is Anson Lee.
Anson Lee.
Anson Lee, you are number 1 in the final 6.
Woohoo! Lucky you. All right, number 2 is Joe Stedman. Wait, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, joke.
Number 9.
Number 9, and that is Dave Romanzin.
Good job, Dave. You've worked so hard for this.
Yes, you did. And now you're down to 1 out of 6 chances.
All right, here we go. Number 3 is number 3. What is all these low numbers?
Well, number 3 is Andy Falk. Andy Falk.
All right.
Probably someone out there now going, I know it was number 4. So close.
But you'll never know.
Now we're to the next 100.
One day when we're famous, Tom, they can look at the old printouts of our game shows and stuff. All
okay,
right.
Now we're at the next 100, and here we go. 3 people from this 100.
69.
And the first one is 69. There's no entry for 69, Joe. Oh, wait, there is. I'm sorry. It's Walt O'Hara.
You just saying it because it was Walt. I can't believe Walt finally made it onto the list.
I was trying to exclude him, but all right. So, Walt, you...
Oh, we promise that we're not rigging this contest. All right, next one. Number 7.
Number 7 is Stormy Strong.
Stormy Strong?
That's a cool name.
That's
the name they gave me in the email.
All right.
So you're number 5. And our last entry in this contest.
Number 16.
I apologize now if I don't call your name. Please don't go crying. But this is Ben Kint. So we have 6 people now. We have number 1, Anson Lee. Number 2, Dave Romanzin. Number 3, Andy Falk. Number 4, Walt O'Hara. Number 5, Stormy Strong. Number 6, Ben Kint. What Joe's going to do is he's going to roll 2 numbers now, and those 2 people are the finalists. We'll just get the 2 finalists.
Let's get down to it. All right, the first finalist, number 5.
Number 5 is Stormy Strong.
All right. Next one, here we go.
This is it. We're about to eliminate 4 people off the island.
Number 1.
And number 1 was Anson Lee. So now we're down to Stormy Strong,
Sorry, Walt.
Anson Lee. Yeah, but Walt, we did mention your name.
You're on the air, Walt. You're famous again.
Okay. So here we go. Now, 1 through 3 is going to be Stormy Strong, and 4 through 6 is going to be Anson Lee. This is the final roll. The winner of this roll gets the game.
Here we go. Number 4, so that would be Anson.
Anson Lee, congratulations. If you're listening to this show, please contact us and give us your
mailing address,
and we'll give it to Multiman Publishing.
We'll pass it through the channels. And everyone who participated, you should drop an email to Multiman just thanking them for being involved in the contest and just
And if you didn't win the game and you still won it, then there's no reason.
You know where to go.
You shouldn't go out and buy the game.
It's a game worth buying. It's a really good game. It's in my collection.
It probably won't be in mine, but that's just because I don't play war games.
No, Tom, you don't. Just because you can't understand them.
Okay, we have our taglines, and I'm not finding mine anywhere.
I got mine right here, so I guess you don't need any.
Well, we're just going to quickly peruse some of these before we introduce our next contest. And our next contest is a bit of a doozy.
All right, let me give you some of these taglines. Let's see here. We got, Tom, you compiled all these. You didn't tell us who gave it to him, so we're just going to have to...
we're just going to talk about them a little bit. So there's one I think we're going to use for sure.
Well, there's a couple of good ones. This guy says, this is Omar Bradley, in war, there's no second prize for runner-up. So sorry, Stormy Strong, there is no prize for second place.
Yeah.
And then here's one from Julius Caesar. The die is cast. Ele jocatagast. I have no idea if I said that right.
You probably didn't.
A lot of these say something about rotten potato peels.
Yeah, there was a lot that mentioned rotten potato peels, and peels also is... Well, never mind. It's spelled two different ways.
My Panzers will crush your Eurogame.
Oh, possibly.
Here's one for you, Tom. Yes, I can do a non-flattering review.
I can do a non-flattering review. There's one that I really liked, and that was The Dice Tower, a bastion of peace along the turbulent border between Wargame and Eurogame territory since 2005. I really enjoyed that one. And then there was a set of them. Joe, say your part first.
Eurogame rules make great toilet paper. They come in small, handy sheets.
Then, hey, I can't find the rules in any of my games.
Okay, I get it now. Let's see here.
Power to the meeple.
I like this one here. It says, Tom's tagline, and you thought he was a nice guy until you listened to this podcast. And this is Joe's tagline, and you never thought he was a nice guy.
Well,
I'm a nice guy. You know, we just heard someone talking about me today at school and said I wasn't a nice guy.
Yeah, they did. They said it publicly, too.
Man.
The Dice Tower, New Hope in Gaming, or The Gamers Strike Back, or The Return of the Board Games, or definitely not The Phantom Podcast.
How about this one? The best podcast out there, better than every other podcast, especially that one.
Especially that one?
Wait, I just made that one up.
See, man, Joe is so bad at ad-libbing.
Yes.
All right. Hi-ho, it's hand grenades I throw. I think that one's for Joe.
Yeah, that's what we're going to do. We'll say the tagline, and people can try to figure out who said it, who it's for, me or you. All right? Bombs don't kill people, explosions do. Is that for Tom or Joe?
If you said Joe, you're right. Except Joe didn't even write it. Did you just make that up?
No, it's right here.
Oh.
How about, my kangaroo this week is Crocodile Pool Party.
You know, I might start saying that every week. But, you know, then I'm telling you, someday I'm going to meet the designer of Crocodile Pool Party. He's going to slap me around the room and tell me I ruined his life and, you know, the game is actually a really good game, etc. You find any more good ones?
There goes. Joe, shut up before I battle your bulge. My stomach, that is.
Yeah. Well, we're working on that.
I'm actually running lately.
I made potato candy last night.
But yeah, can you believe candy made out of potatoes?
It was good and tasted good.
Dice, baby. What is that supposed to be?
All right, let's move past these taglines. But we will use some of them in the future, and if we use yours, we'll mention your name and say thanks for it.
But I'm out of geek gold, otherwise I'd give you some.
However, we now would like to introduce our next contest. Our next contest is a game from Days of Wonder. It's a game that we've talked about quite a bit. It's in my top 10 games. It's called Memoir 44. What we're doing is we're giving out a copy of Memoir 44 plus all 3 expansions that just come out. There's 3 new expansions. One of them adds all kinds of terrain to the game. The other one adds the Russian army. And then the third one adds a new map board that has snow on one side and sand on the other. I mean, they all look really, really cool. And Memoir 44 is already a tremendous game. You might be sitting there thinking, but I already have Memoir 44, because probably most of you do. And if you do, so what? Another copy, you can make the Overlord scenario by putting 2 boards together, which is by far the best way to play Memoir.
It's the only way to play it, in my opinion. Memoir
44 is a combat game where you have one person takes the Germans and the other person takes the Allies, and you play one of many scenarios that are in the book, or you can find many online. And before you people who don't like war games shy away, Memoir is a very, very light game in the sense that you roll dice and attack, and you play a card which lets you attack with different units, and then when you use those units, you roll dice, and everything is resolved there. You don't need to look at charts. There's a few sometimes negative modifiers, but they're very, very easy to figure out. The whole game is really easy. A lot of wargamers think the game is too easy, but for me, it's right where it's supposed to be at. And even Joe plays it enough that he has fun with it, especially the Overlord scenario.
The Overlord scenario is quite fun.
There's just, to me, there's a lot of replayability in it. It's made by Richard Borg. It's certainly one of the most popular games that's come out in the last couple of years. And now there's 3 new expansions. They've just been released. And so the winner of this contest gets a copy of Memoir plus all 3 expansions. To me, that's a really good prize. I mean, we're talking a nice gift there. And if you win this contest, it will probably come in just in time for Christmas for you, or maybe, near the end of November. Either way, what a good thing to win. And so I can't imagine why anyone would not want to try out for this one. In fact, this is such a good prize that we're going to give 3 weeks for it to be completed. This contest is not going to end until November 15th, which is 3 weeks from today. Now, You may be wondering how you enter this contest.
I'm actually wondering because you've not told me.
Yeah, I did. I told you. What I need people to do is send us. You can send a sentence, a paragraph, an expose, whatever you want. Tell us why or why not Memoir 44 is a simulation. Now, for some of you who haven't ever played the game or heard of it, will take a little bit of research on your part. You go to BoardGameGeek.com, look up Memoir, read the paragraphs, and then just take a cursory overview of it and tell us if you think it's a simulation or not, and tell us why or why not. Joe and I are going to each pick 10 that we like.
Yeah, most likely.
So he's going to pick 10, I'm going to pick 10.
Most likely, I'll pick 10 that say it's not a simulation.
And most likely, I'll pick 10 I think that are well written, whether they say it's a simulation or not.
Well, yeah, right, whatever.
And either way, I would assume that all of you think the game is good, whether it's a simulation or not. But is it a historical simulation? I think it is. Joe thinks it's not. But either way, you tell us what you think, and we're going to pick the top 10, and then we're going to have a random draw from those 20 people.
And we'll read the top 2, right?
Oh, we might. Yeah, we'll read the top 2. We'll read
the best one from each side of you.
In our opinion, and then we'll read the random one that we draw.
Right. There you go. That's a great.
So you got 3 weeks to do that. You got time to take your time and turn it in, or you can turn in a quick blurb. This is not a difficult thing to do. I mean, if you just want to say something silly, maybe something that will make us laugh. I might pick something that's funny too.
If you really want to go overboard, you can even send us an audio file within the next 3 weeks, and we'll put it on the air of you talking about Memoir, as long as you keep it like a minute or less.
That's true.
Because our friend Gary, he'll give us an audio blurb, but it'd be like 6 minutes long.
Well, enough talk about the contest. We'll be mentioning that in our next couple shows. You have 3 weeks from today to get involved in this. And what we're going to do now is we're going to go into our reviews. And I believe Joe's talking about one of the games that actually drew me into Eurogames in the first place.
Yeah, I guess I'm going first then.
You are. I saw this game in a store when I was shopping for Warhammer 40K one day, and it caught my curiosity, and I since then picked the game up and then traded it to Joe in one of our mega trades.
Right. This game is one of the Euro games. I wouldn't even really call it a Euro game. I think I would just call it I don't know what category this would fit into. The name of the game is Formula Day. It's been around since 1991. It's put out by, how do you say that, Tom? Descartes? Descartes. Anyway, just look it up. It's made by Eric Randall and Laurent Lavia. I imagine he's French. Formula Day is just a game that is a fun game where you try to pretend like you're your race cars and you're going around the track. The formula racing. You control either one or two cars. And there's really cool components about this game. Well, one thing is they got 35 different tracks. All the real tracks from around the world. They've made boards for these tracks. You race around the track doing one or two laps. You have little charts in front of you that you keep track of your tires and your brakes and things like this. And you can stop in the pit stops and you can refill your tires and brakes. And if you go around, the whole game is based on dice. Well, obviously like most games, I guess, but this game has special dice. It has one die for each gear that you're in, first through fifth gear. And the first gear is only a three-sided die, three-sided die.
Four-sided die. There's very few three-sided dice in existence.
I guess you're right. It's a four-sided die. So when you're in first gear, the fastest you can move would be 4 spots.
Mm-mm. It only has 1 or 2 on it.
Oh, that's right. That's why it threw me off. It's a 4-sided die with only 1 and 2 marked on it. So the farthest you can move if you're in first gear is 2 spots. And then there's the second gear would be the 6-sided die, and then
which is 2 through 4.
Right. And then third gear is the 8-sided die, which is 5 through whatever.
11, 8. I don't remember.
It's not important. And then fourth gear is the next gear up, and it's got the higher numbers, all up to fifth gear, which could...
Sixth gear,
I'm sorry, which you could feasibly go, I think, 30 spots.
Yes, it goes... Sixth gear is from 21 to 30.
Yeah, and so... the cool thing is when you go into the curves and things, you have to stop in the curves a mandatory number of times, let's say 2 times. And if you don't stop in the curve at least 2 times, then your car will spin out and crash. So you have to time it just right so you can stop in the curves and keep off going. So you can't just bring it up to 6th gear and fly around the track. You actually have to be a little strategic on how you do this. And if you overshoot your curve, then you can use brake points or tire points to cancel out the number of spots that you overshoot it by or whatnot. And there's lots of other little rules. But it really makes for a fun game. I've actually got the little pewter cars that go with it that I have not yet painted. One of these days I'll actually paint them. An interesting story that someone was asking me to tell was on a previous show I had me and Tom just briefly talked about the Korean board gaming national championship for Formula Day, and I got ripped out of that, didn't I, Tom?
Well, yes, he did. I actually agree with him.
What happened was they had a preliminary. It was big for Korea. There's a board gaming convention, and they had Formula Day contest, and I entered and won the preliminaries and made it to the finals. And there was 8 people in the final game, and they said it was going to be a 3-lap race. And so, if you know the game at all, going in halfway through, maybe 3/4 of the way through the first lap, my car was doing great. I hadn't used any of my brakes, none of my tires. I was running in about 4th place. And the guy in front of me had no brakes, no tires, nothing. And matter of fact, all 3 guys in front of me had nothing left of their cars. They had totally wasted them. And so there's no way in the world that they would be able to go another lap without stopping in the pits. And I'd been playing fairly conservative. I was sitting pretty. I was feeling real confident. And I was thinking, man, these guys are amateurs. I've got this in the bag. And the prize was all 35 tracks. So it wasn't a little prize. If you won, you would get all 35 tracks. And that's hundreds of dollars. And so I was pretty excited. And then just before the first lap ends, the coordinator of the event stands up and says, "We're sorry. We'd like to say that we're just going to end it after 1 lap."
Which really changes your strategy, because if you're running 3 laps, you take your time, make sure your car doesn't get too damaged. In 1 lap, you just run it to the ground.
And so here I am, and they announce that they're going to end it in 1 lap, and I'm sitting in 4th. There's no way that I could get up to the first place in time. And so I just got really frustrated, and I would have made a bigger stink if I wasn't a Christian, but I was just like, and I got really upset, and I just basically walked off. And Tom was proud of me because I didn't punch out any Koreans, but I did write a few nasty letters to the formula to the people in Korea that were running the thing, and I even like turned them into the manufacturers of Formula Day, but nothing ever came of it. So
I understand the decision that they wanted to finish the game early and get it done in time, but they should have thought of that before they started the game off. It was a poor planning move, and then it was too big of a prize. I mean, the game plus all those tracks is just too massive of a prize to just casually give away to someone who just happens to be in first when you decide to end it.
Yeah, it was garbage, man. It really ticked me off.
But I wasn't. I had been in a preliminary round and had crashed my car, so I was already out. So it wasn't that big of a deal
so anyway,
for me.
Formula Day is one of my favorite non-war games out there. It's a racing game. You can still pick it up. I think they still make the game. I think it's still in production. I'm not positive, but I'm pretty sure it is. Last time I went to a board gaming convention, I saw plenty of copies of it.
Yeah, you can find it. It's not too hard.
It's all over. Go ahead and pick up a copy. I think it'd be worth your money.
My review is of Beowulf. Beowulf is a brand new game. We just gave it out a couple of weeks ago, and it's printed by Fantasy Flight Games, designed by Rainer Knizia, and it's a game in which players are pretty much tagging along with Beowulf. They are sticking around with him as he goes through his life and his feats, and you're trying to accumulate enough fame so that when Beowulf dies at the end of the game, he chooses you as his successor. All right, that's the theme. The game is basically a series of events. You move this Beowulf figure in the middle of this board, and the board's shaped like an L. It's kind of cool. It's not a full board. I'm not sure why they did that, but I guess you can put all the pieces in the part of the board that's not there. It's only 3/4 of the board, and as this Beowulf figure, you put a Beowulf figure in the board, and he moves through each event, and each event causes different effects. The effects affect the players. You start with a handful of cards, activity cards they're called, and the cards are different types of cards, maybe traveling or fighting or craftiness. They remind me a little bit of the cards from Lord of the Rings, where you have different types. And certain events require you to discard certain kinds of cards to get fame points. You're trying to collect fame points as you go through. You can also collect gold, and gold can be used in different auctions that occur. And that's pretty much the heart of the game, are these auctions. There's three different kinds of auctions, a blind bidding auction and a clockwise round the table auction, in which players use their cards to try and win fame points, to try and avoid getting scratches and wounds, because if you get wounds, you lose points near the end of the game. Or there's just different prizes for each event. And each event requires a different kind of card, or maybe 2 different kinds of cards. So if you have fighting cards, they might help you in one event. If you have craftiness cards, they'll help you in another event. And so the thing I really like about the game is that you can look ahead, you can look down the road and see what's coming up, and you can save your cards accordingly. If you use all your cards up in one auction, you don't have any for the next auction. There's certain times where you can draw cards, but if you don't get the cards that you're supposed to get, then you take a wound, and so or a scratch, and you're just kind of tempting fate there, pushing your luck. But the game is mostly about the auctions, but even more so, the game is about looking ahead to see what's coming down the line. It makes the game a little bit linear, and perhaps the replayability's not real high because of this, but I think it's cool that I can sit and see where Beowulf's going to be in 10 turns, and I can sit there and plan and say, okay, I don't want to use my fighting cards up in this auction because there's another auction coming up with better results. At the end of the game, the player with the most fame points is the winner. Fame points are little tokens that you've been getting throughout the game as a result of these auctions. And whoever has gotten the most fame points wins. And so you're trying to get fame points during the game, but sometimes you want to get gold because gold can be used in other auctions to win more fame points. And you don't want to get too many scratches because if you get too many scratches, you get a wound. And if you have too many wounds, you lose a lot of points. And I really liked the game a lot. I don't think Joe was as enamored as I was.
Yeah, it was okay. I mean, it wasn't. I mean, I'd like to try it again. It just was. I was expecting something thematic, and I didn't find any theme in it at all, hardly.
I think the theme was pasted on the game, but I think it works well. I think in the game that Joe and I played that we ignored the theme in favor of the mechanics. I think if we had maybe said, I'm fighting now.
What if we like LARPs and just dressed up like Beowulf and stuff?
Well, no. LARPs, which means live action role playing for those who don't know.
And half the game I was painting Beowulf himself, so I kind of got distracted. I guess
that's true. It comes with a plastic figure, and Joe.
I can't stand seeing unpainted infidels on my game board, so I had to pick him up and start painting him. I went in my game room next door, got out my Warhammer paints, and started painting his little Beowulf. I did a substandard job, but at least he's painted now.
All right. So those are our reviews. Beowulf for me and Formula Day for Joe. We have a few questions that we got. One is from Paul Tevis, who does another podcast.
Yeah. There you go. It says, Tom, you might be interested to know that Titanic Games is going to be producing a new version of Kill Dr. Lucky with high-quality components.
I think that's great.
Ooh. Anyway, Joe, you might be horrified to know that Titanic Games is going to produce a new version of Kill Dr. Lucky with high-quality components. You're right. I am horrified. As a matter of fact, I don't think I'm going to sleep tonight.
for those of you...
Oh, my goodness.
For those of you who don't know about Titanic Games, it's a brand new game company that started up. It's being started by James Ernest, who is currently the president of Chia Pass Games, and Mike Selenker, who he worked on the Axis and Allies a revised version and a lot of different games for Hasbro. And they're starting this company together, and it's going to make some pretty interesting games. One of the games they're making, I forget the name of it now, but it's going to have actually 5 different designers are making a game using the same game components.
Weird.
So I'm looking forward to their high-quality game of Kill Dr. Lucky.
And I'm not looking forward to their high-quality game of Kill Dr. Lucky.
Either way, thank you, Paul. Paul is the host of Have Games Will Travel podcast. In fact, he recently played a little blurb for us on his podcast, so if you hear from his show, we welcome you, and if you've never heard of his show, I'd recommend you go try it out. Paul talks about board games and RPGs. He mixes them, and RPGs and board games can get along in the same universe.
Wow, can we just all see, Tom and I, we talk about other board gaming podcasts. We're not just,
No.
We don't, Tom, hit me.
All right.
Don't hit me, Tom. I'm sorry.
Our next question is from Shayna Bertram. Actually, it's not a question. He's giving us a contest.
Oh, really?
He wants Joe to go one whole episode without saying, alluding, referring, war storying, revering, or comparing anything to ASL.
Oh, come on.
Which is Advanced Squad Leader.
Oh, come on.
In any way. I don't think, he says, accepting your powers as a digital editor, that he can do it. It's too ingrained in his psyche. I feel that the other 1% of Joe's DNA is coded ASL.
Well, if you play a game every day, this is what I do at lunch every day.
During that show, also for bonus points, force him to talk strategy on a war-themed Euro.
Is there such a thing?
All right, so we're going to try this out next show.
Okay, so this show I can talk about ASL, right?
I saw Joe he has it written in a note somewhere, so I didn't want to cut him out from it.
Okay, good. Because I'm not sure if I could go a whole show without talking about the mighty ASL.
All right, here's our last question from a listener. I got another question right before the show started, but we'll play that one in our next show. But this one's from Michael Shea. He has 2 questions. What games from Phalanx Games have you played? Can you recommend any of them? I'm especially interested in Revolution. Well, we actually...
He's talking about the Dutch Revolution, right?
I think so. Joe, I have Dutch Revolution, and Joe and I are going to eventually play it, but because it takes 4 to 8 hours, it's just a difficult game to fit in the schedule.
It's just scary. It scares Tom. His attention span's only about 45 minutes.
But whether or not it scares me or not, it's still a difficult game to fit into the schedule.
Phalanx Games, I got their House Divided, a beautiful version of the House Divided. Highly recommended.
I will second that. I'm not a big fan of the game because I'm just not a big fan of that type, but it is a nice game.
It's pretty.
Very well done and great components.
I've got all 3 versions, and that's my favorite, even though I got the nostalgia for the first edition. And then First World War, that was a good game. I liked it. Tom didn't like it too much. I don't know.
Well, no, I liked it. It was interesting. I got killed, but it's a very, I don't know how to explain it. It's I guess it's a war game, but it feels kind of like a Euro game in a sense.
It's very, very light.
It's designed by Ted Racier, who designed it, Paths of Glory, which is a very highly rated war game, and it played well. I also like a recent card game of theirs called Trump Tricks Win or something. Oh, boy, the name just flipped me by.
See, this is all because our friend Shin told us that we should research our games before we talk about them.
Well, anyway.
Trumps and Tricks. There
Trump's
you go.
Tricks game. I'm sorry, it's called Trump's Tricks Games. And it's a really fun, simple trick-taking game.
By Phalanx Games?
Yeah, and the way the game works is the cards that you win in a round are the cards that you use for your next round.
I can tell you a few games to avoid from Phalanx Games.
Yeah.
Nero. Don't go to Nero. That game is not very good.
Phalanx has been hit or miss. Oh, the Phalanx Games also made Maharaja, which is a game I really enjoyed from last year.
That was really dry.
But either way,
it was dry.
Phalanx Games, I've been talking to someone who works there, and they said that they're switching from doing mostly wars-type games to they're going to be doing more Euro games.
Poor guys, they've taken a step.
They'll still be doing some more games.
They sold out for money, didn't they?
Well, maybe. All right, now we have a quick thing that we were going to do in our last show, and for some reason we missed it. And these are some questions from the internet, from BoardGameGeek.com. You can ask questions and people answer them. Well, instead of putting our answers on Board Game Geek, we decided to answer them on the air because, I don't know, that's just cooler. So, the first question is, what game element turns you off quickest to a new game?
What game element? How about a victory point track?
A victory point track?
Or when I see little wooden meeples coming out of the box, I know right away I'm not going to like it.
For me, it's a really easy answer. The game element that turns me off most from a game is when there's a card, basically a card. If there's a card that can single-handedly change the course of the whole game.
Okay, I'll give you that. The overpowering card.
For example, in Tenjo, where a card could destroy an entire army.
They have one of those in Memoir 44 has 2 powerful cards in it, in my opinion.
Yeah, but you're way off base there. Those aren't that powerful.
It was too powerful.
No way. But there was a game that Joe and I were playing, a trick-taking game, kind of Lightning Midway, or what was that called?
Lightning War on Terror.
Lightning War on Terror. And there was one card that let you switch hands with an opponent, and that just totally broke the game. There was no point to any strategy of hoarding any cards at all because someone could just take all your cards from you. So you might as well just try your best to win every single auction that came by. And how is that fun?
Yeah.
So that to me is a game-breaking mechanic. The next one is weirdest place that we've ever played a game.
Weirdest place you ever played a game? What about you, Tom? What's the weirdest place you've ever played a game?
The plane, I guess, on the airplane. I don't play games in too many weird places. I mean, I played more games in church than most people probably have ever played.
Yeah, we played quite a few games at church.
I played them at school.
How about this? You played board games within missile distance of a communist nation. Quite
that's a good idea.
Within artillery range, only a few miles from the DMZ.
Yeah.
What else? I played board games once on the roof of my house.
Yeah.
But Korean roofs are kind of flat, and you go up there all the time anyway. So
I'm wondering if I've ever played one on a subway. I'm not sure I did.
Yeah, we have. We played a card game on a subway once. We were just kind of learning it, though. We weren't really playing it.
Okay. The next question is, what game is the crown jewel of your collection? Mine is pretty much a tie. I think it's between Karabande, where I have 2 sets of Karabande plus an action set, and they're very expensive and hard to find now. By very expensive, I say a couple $100. For me, that's very expensive. And the other is my Cosmic Encounter set. I took 2 Hasbro sets, painted the pieces of one, but I have all the components from Mayfair Cosmic Encounter, more Cosmic Encounter, and simply Cosmic. The Cosmic Encounter from Mayfair goes for a pretty penny on eBay, but I got it in a trade, and so I like my customized Mayfair Cosmic Encounter set. That's probably my top.
What about
my prize.
What about your Ave Caesar? You used to claim that was pretty important.
Yeah, I like Ave Caesar a lot. I'm glad I have it, but it's about to be reprinted, so there goes the value.
I got Hannibal, which is the expensive card-driven game that everyone wants. Obviously, my ASL stuff. Ooh, I said ASL.
You can this show.
I got quite a few miniatures, historical and 40K stuff, so that's expensive. But my crown jewel, probably my up front that I got that was still mint in the package, still a shrink wrap on it. That was pretty fun. That was fun to rip the shrink wrap off of it.
I said mine. All right, the next question is, how many games roughly are in your game collection?
Roughly, or do you want to know exactly? Because it's not that hard to figure out.
I know exactly. I have 837.
837.
I just recently reorganized and recounted. Oh, wait, you gave me a new game yesterday, so I guess I have 838.
Oh, yeah, I did, didn't I?
Some game called Mission to Ecuador. It's a fundraising game about being missionaries. I'm not sure if it's any good or not. I glanced at the rules.
Lost Battalion Games. Good company.
No, that game wasn't by Lost Battalion Games. Or did they produce it?
Yeah, it is. It is by Lost Battalion Games.
But I went and looked it up on the internet, and it didn't mention them at all. It has its own website.
I think it's separate because it's like a war game company and then putting out a missionary game.
Well, either way.
We might have to edit this part out of the show. No, I'm just kidding. Anyway, no. What else? What was the question again?
How many games you got?
Oh, I have exactly
Show us 4.
204. I have 242 games. 242 games. But of those 242 games, I probably have 100 games that I like. I mean, I'm sorry. I have
100 games you like?
I have 100 games that I would not part with. Let me put it that way.
Yeah, I think it's we're getting close to the vassal purge. So many games I like. I like most of the games I own, but I think it's time to cut some loose.
Yeah, living in Korea, we're not really known for our big open spaces over here. So
yeah, I'm fortunate that I have a little closet in my classroom to fill with games, but even that's getting a little filled with all these games. I think some of the games are going to have to go soon.
Yeah.
And the next question is, if you could suddenly never game again, what hobby would you pursue instead? That's a question for the hour. I guess if I went blind, I wouldn't be able to game. Well, I could still game. If I went blind and deaf and couldn't touch.
Can I take the cheap way out and say historical miniatures? Is that like board gaming?
Well, I thought about that, and so I thought, well, I'd say RPGs or collectible card games or some kind of gaming.
What if the question was no gaming whatsoever?
Yeah, I would cut gaming out completely. For me, it would be a toss-up. I would either get really involved in Legos. I don't know why. I think it'd just
Legos?
It'd be fun to build.
Legos?
I like building the huge forts, and I think I'd have a lot of fun doing that. Or
you're such a fruitcake.
Or maybe music. I think I get more heavily involved in music, or to play a piano. Or
maybe you could combine the two, and you could make like Lego musical instruments.
Legos are cool, and you know it. They're just really cool.
Yeah, I would devote my whole life to those if it wasn't for everything else.
I'm not saying I devote my life to it. I just say I pick it up as a hobby.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I don't know. I guess if I couldn't do any type of gaming at all, I'd probably devote myself. I'd probably do maybe web design and stuff like that. I like that stuff. I'm not very good at it, but it's fun. I don't know. Comic books?
Oh, comic books. That's interesting. Yeah, but you can only see with the comic book you can read it and then you're done.
Maybe I start drawing. I make my own comic books.
Okay.
There you go.
In rating games, says the next question, do you have more 10s or more 1s?
More 1s for me.
Yeah, I do too, but that's only because I keep myself very strictly to only 10 10s.
Okay, well, that's you're kind of fixing the valid. You sound like a reporter who's distorting the truth, Tom. I think the essence of this question is, do you have more games that you like or more games that you dislike?
Well, then that's by far more games I like.
See, that's...
Do you think you have more games you dislike?
Well, my average on Board Game Geek's about a 6.5.
But you have to realize that a 6 for Joe is a game that he will only play if he has to.
Yeah, that's about right.
For me, a 6 of games I enjoy.
A 7, most Euro games and games I usually rank it as 7. Because I think it's a good game, but I don't really want to own it, I'll own a 7. I'll give it a 7. But anyway.
Okay, and then the last question is, do you think finishing second in a game that the first loser is worse than finishing last because you actually had a chance to win?
Would I rather come in last or second? I guess it depends. I don't know. I guess I would usually want to come in second.
I'm assuming, I would assume you'd say last, because when Joe realizes he can't win, he doesn't care
that's true.
anymore.
I kick into Kingmaker mode usually, so.
I don't know.
I usually, that's a good point, because once I do realize that my victory will not happen, then I just have fun.
I don't ever mind coming in second, because I sit there and think I could have won, and that makes me feel good because I know I could have won.
Well, you used to feel that way until you started playing me all the time. Then you got used to taking second place.
But besides that inane comment, I think that coming in last doesn't usually bother me either, because
you're used to it.
If I come in last, that means no one else came in last. That means everyone else is having a good time.
Oh, and the board gaming community goes farther.
Do you see how I put up with, folks? It's been a good game. It's been a good weekend for playing games.
Sure.
I mean, a really good weekend. I was going to write a lot of reviews, and then I said, forget that. Let's get some new games played.
We did play quite a few games.
We played Beowulf, which was I already talked about.
Mm-hmm.
We played Runebound, which Joe was not a fan of. But on the flip side, I really liked it. I mean, I was just bowled over by how much fun it was.
What did you like so much about it?
Because it was an adventure. I mean, and it was cool how your character got built up.
But you could play that
and went around, and
you could play that game solitaire, no problem.
I think I enjoyed that part of it. I think I'm going to play it solitaire. But I like playing with other people because I like to watch what they do. After playing with 3 people, I think I wouldn't want to play with more than 3 people. But 3 people was a good game. Except for Joe.
And then when I tried to attack someone, another player character, or whatever you want to call him, another PvP, or whatever you want to call it in the game role-playing game world, then you guys both got mad at me. Why are you trying to ruin the game, Joe? What are you doing?
I just didn't see any reason.
It was cool. I was kicking his tail.
I don't know. PvP just doesn't seem like it's really part of that game. I think they put it in there to please people like Joe.
I actually started enjoying the game, then everyone got mad at me.
Yeah, well. We also played Shark Panic and Daimyo, both games from Essen, 2005. See, we are giving you Essen reports.
Yeah, do you want to give our second installment of our... Let's go ahead and do our second installment of our Essen reports.
Okay, here we... No, the joke's only funny once, Joe.
No, it's not. Come on, do it.
All right, here's our second installment of our Essen reports.
Hold on, I got cricket turning back on.
That would be cool if I got a cricket sound effect.
A cricket sound effect, yeah.
Right.
So that was our second Essen report, so...
But we have like 50 installments of that.
Yeah, we do.
Anyway, Shark Panic... I'm not sure what I think about the game yet. I must be reading the rules wrong.
I didn't like it. It was dumb. Okay.
You have these sharks, and you're trying to scare fish away into your own shark's mouth.
I had high expectations because it looks like they blatantly ripped off Saving Private Ryan. Is that what you're going to say? Saving Private Nemo. What is that Nemo movie?
Finding Nemo.
Finding Nemo. It looks like they blatantly ripped off the art from Nemo, and so I looked like I liked that movie, so I thought I was going to enjoy this game, but it was boring.
But the other game that this company made, Daimyo, by the way, the company's Red Omega.
Yeah.
Daimyo was a really interesting game.
Yeah, I like Daimyo. It was actually pretty fun.
You each have cards that you play on your turn that allow you to move your forces around the board, and combat's really simple. Where if I attack you with 4 and you have 3, then
it's just pure
each lose 3.
It's just pure attrition.
But when you play, you play 2 cards each turn, and when you're done playing them, you give 1 card to each person to your right and left, and then they can use them on future turns. So you have to think about that, and it's a very strategic game, and I really, really, really stink at it. I mean, I got murdered both times we played.
It was fun murdering you.
I mean, I got murdered first game. I said, okay, we're trying this again. And the second time, same thing happened.
But anyway, I think, Tom, for every 10 games that you introduced to me, I think I want 1. I think it's about a 10% ratio.
So was this the one?
This was the one.
Okay. We also played Easy Come, Easy Go, which I don't even like, but we had like 10 minutes before lunch, and so...
What was that game about?
That was the Yahtzee type game.
Oh, that was really dumb.
Drive. No, I know Joe likes Drive, too. Drive is a simply fun game.
I like Drive because my wife likes Drive. I knew it's just the kind of game that she would like, so I enjoy it because she would like it. You're just
trying to collect sets of cars, and it works good with 4 players, but it works tremendous with 2. I really enjoy it. If you can get a simply fun party organized in your home, they come to your home and do like Tupperware party type thing, but it's just board games. I mean, how much cooler can you get? That, my friends, is the game you should get, is Drive.
I'll roll my dice and see if I like you, Tom. What do you know? I don't like you.
Anyway, I need to get a sound effect of a big, long, drawn-out sigh. I also played Ooga. That's one I didn't play with Joe, but you have like these little plunger things, and you're stabbing tiles.
Well, I'm glad you didn't play it with me.
I knew instantly that Joe wouldn't want to touch it.
Boy,
but I liked it. Something fishy. It's a push your luck game. I like it, but it seems to have one mechanic that you play over and over again. And then a game that's really intrigued me, and I think this is number 3 for Joe. Joe, I don't think it's 1 out of 10, because I think Joe liked this game too, was Battleground Fantasy. It's a new game by Your Move Games where it's a miniatures game, but it's on cards. You see the whole armies on cards, and you move the cards around. And the system.
I thought it was clever, and I'm willing to play it again, but I'm not going to say that I liked it necessarily. Why play a miniatures game without the miniatures?
Why play a miniatures game with the miniatures?
Because that's the whole point.
But see, I don't have time to paint a $400 army. Here I can buy the whole army in a box of cards. I mean, it just makes it... I mean, I like miniature games for the rules, but I don't want to put the time and effort into the armies.
But miniatures games aren't really played for their rules. They're played for the collecting aspect, the miniatures, the eye candy. The rules are part of it, but man...
Well, I really like the game. The cards you can write on them with erasable marker, and you can mark off the hit points of the cards. Each one has special abilities. I think it's a really neat idea.
It was interesting. I think it'd be a good way to play test rules.
Well, either way, if you've always wanted to play a miniature game and you don't have the money or don't want to put the time into painting an army, this is the way to go.
Yeah. Let's see. I played ASL, of course. Let me explain that.
Oh, my goodness.
I play ASL every single day at work at lunchtime. I have I have a half an hour lunch, and then I have 2 breaks, 2 off-period planning periods during the day. And if I'm all caught up, then I can play on the computer during my break period. So I usually play about ASL an hour and a half a day. And I usually play that via Vassal. And that's not Tom Vassal. That's VASL. Look it up on the internet. It's a way to play real-time ASL on the internet. So anyway. Yes, I'm addicted. I can admit it. And the good thing is if I can addict it, then,
You're listening to The Dice Tower at www.thedicetower.com with Tom Vassal and Joe Stedman.
Cool. And I was wondering what we were listening to.
Hey, I like putting it into dinner because, I just realized that we forgot to tell people if they have an entry for a memoir contest, which we mentioned quite a bit ago, 44 minutes ago, that you can email us at thedicetower@gmail.com with your entry. And if you want to find a record of this show or other shows, you can go to www.thedicetower.com.
And then there you can find a link to Tom's webpage and a link to my blog.
Right. And so, anyway. So,
right.
Don't forget to email us about those.
Let's keep this show going.
Player categories. We didn't do this last week. We'll probably do it more sporadically in the future because we don't have too many player categories to the next 700 shows that we're going to do. But the player categories are unfair characterizations that Joe and I make of people that we come in contact with or are. We are stereotyping and putting people in groups and being psychologists.
We're politically incorrect. We don't care.
All right. So my person this week is the loser. And
the loser.
This is the kind of person who knows instantly, as soon as you put the box on the table, that they're going to lose. They know as soon as you put the box, you open the game, you read the rules. They sit there and go, I don't understand this, I'm going to lose. I don't get it, I'm going to lose. Oh, I'm no good at this type of game, I'm going to lose. And you start playing the game, and they know that they're going to lose. And one of the problems with these people is that they win so much. And you feel like taking the pieces of the game and cramming them into their face at the end and saying, thank you for making the game so much fun for the rest of us. You knew you were going to lose, and what happened? You won. And then you sit there and smile, I don't know, smugly. And these people are like, oh, I'm not going to win. Oh, I'm just not doing too good. I got nothing in my hand. And all these pieces are going around. And if you're hearing funny noises, why I'm saying this is because Joe keeps swatting at mosquitoes flying all over the place.
Yeah, I know. It's annoying.
So anyway, my category this week is the loser.
Alrighty. I was going to do one called the winner, but that was just too cheesy, so I'm going to do mine called the crackhead. The crackhead is the guy that when you play a game against him, he's always like, come on. Okay, I understand the rules. Let's go. Come on. All right, let's just play. Come on. And then the whole game, he's just like doing irrational, silly things, and he just seems like he wants the game to be over before it even started. And why did he even show up to play?
Yes, why did he show up to play?
Hey, do you know anyone like that?
Yes, I do. I know quite a few people like that.
It's just like, come on. It's like he has to hurry up and finish the game so he can go get his next fix.
But what's ironic is these people, then they complain when you don't explain a rule. You never told us that rule. Well, you didn't give me time to.
Don't mess around with all these. Just skip to the. How do you win? Okay, let's play. You sit down. You say, okay, in this game, we're trying to get our wooden meeples across. Okay, how do you win?
I think this is really close to another category Joe did, the ADD player. I think it's not too far off.
This is the ADD player's older brother, the crackhead.
All right. I don't know how to respond to that. But I think that is now it's time for our top 10.
It is?
It is.
Now it's time for the weekly top 10 list.
Okay.
And now it's time for the weekly top 10 list.
That's in case you didn't get it the first time.
Oh, I thought you were going to play, what's your name, scumbag?
I don't remember the computer cracked, smashed up. It doesn't work anymore.
Oh, see, Tom he erased all my little audio snippets just because he knew I liked them.
All right, well, go ahead.
What?
Oh, I'm sorry. I was going to go ahead.
Go ahead.
Here we go. I guess we should tell you. This is one of our split top 10 lists.
We're going to try. This is a new idea we had. If you don't like it, tell us. Sometimes you like to hear our opposing viewpoints about the same top 10, but sometimes there's just top 10 lists that either one of us can't do because we really don't care enough about the other games to do it.
For example, what's your top 10 list?
Top 10 card-driven war games.
Yeah, I know nothing about that, except, I know the names of them, and I played a couple of them, but I wouldn't be able to tell you the top 10 because I've only played 3.
Right.
So.
And what is yours?
And mine is top 10 auction games.
Auction? Like,
All kinds of auctions.
Like what?
Well, I'm about to tell people when we're going through the list.
Auction games? All right, sounds exciting. So what, do you get to play the role of an auctioneer?
Well, here's some auction games that didn't make my list, that should have been in my top 10 but weren't. Monkeys on the Moon, which is a funny game made by 8 Foot Llama, Pizarro and Company, High Society, Boomtown, Zoo Sim, You're Bluffing, and Beowulf, the game I just talked about. Those are all good auction games, but those did not make my top 10. Did you have any almost makes it?
Sure. Well, how about this? I had games that are on my top 10 list that aren't in production yet. They're P500 games. Shifting Sands, they're not P500, they're multi-man. Shifting Sands is the Desert War, World War II. I'm looking forward to that, multi-man publishing. And Twilight Struggle. That sounds really good, too. That's out from the P500. But anyway, those are some card-driven games. The Twilight Struggle is about the Cold War. So anything about the Cold War is cool. So anyway, so those are my in-production card-driven games.
All right. So without further ado, here's our top 10 list of auction games / card-driven war games, which has no correlation at all.
Number 10.
All right, my number 10 game is For Sale. For Sale is an auction game. It's really fast. It can be played 6 people. It's 2 auction phases. In the first one, you auction off with 14 gold that you have, and you're buying different properties. Each property is numbered from 1 to 30. 1 is a cardboard box under the bridge, and 30 is a space station in outer space. You bid on each round, and you're going to win some kind of property. Maybe you'll get a 4 or 5. And after all the properties have been auctioned off, each player then turn over a bunch of checks in the middle of the table, and each player uses blind bidding and tries to sell one of their properties for the checks. It's a little easier to explain in person than it is over the air, but it's a very simple game. I've had extremely great success teaching it, and it's very fast. It's a tremendous, tremendous game. My number 10 game is For Sale.
All right. My number 10 game is the Napoleonic Wars. Now, this is by GMT. The good thing that it has going for it is it's a multiplayer war game, card-driven. It represents the Napoleonic Wars, go figure. But it supposedly goes up to 7 players, but really 5 players maximum. Even if you play 5 player, even a 5th player who's Prussia doesn't really have much he can do. It's kind of dry. It just barely made my top 10 list. I really don't like the game, but I like the fact that it's 5 players and it's card-driven. So that aspect of the game was really cool. And I played it quite a few times. Every time I go to a game convention, there's always this die-hard group of guys who play this game, the whole game convention, like back to back to back to back. And so they always sucker me into playing once or twice. So the Napoleonic Wars by GMT, number 10.
Number 9.
All right, my number 9 game is eBay, the electronic talking auction game. Well, it sounds a little odd because it's not a Euro game, and it's a game you can pick up. Well, I guess it's probably not for sale in stores anymore. I got it at KB for $5, and it looks like a silly mass market game, but it's a really interesting game. You sit there, and there's different items that are being sold on eBay, and it shows you the estimated value, but the real value is on the back. And on your turn, the electronic voice will say blue, and then player blue has to put down one of his money cards in one of the open slots for one of the bids, and then press a button. If you don't do it fast enough, you don't get the bid. And once you win a bid with one of your money cards, you don't get that money card back. And so it's a really interesting game because it's timed. It only lasts like 20 minutes or so because the voice never and it never stops. As soon as you press the button, it goes. And every once in a while, an auction will end randomly, and whoever has the top card at that time wins. It's a bit silly, but it's not totally tactical because there's some random time limits in the game, but it's really a good value for, how cheap you can probably find it somewhere. So my number 9 game is eBay, the electronic talking auction game.
All right. My number 9 game is Successors. Now, this is a Richard Berg game, so take that for what it is. But Successors is another multiplayer game. It's out of production currently, but it's on the P500. I'm sure it'll come back quickly. It's kind of fiddly. That's Richard Berg for you. And it's kind of long. But once again, it's a 4-hour game at least, and it's for 4 players. That's pretty complex, but it's really good. It simulates the after effects after Alexander the Great died and those generals that were fighting for power. And so it's a pretty interesting game. I think it's number 9. I recommend it if you can get a good group of people together to play it. Number 9 for me, Successor by Richard Berg.
Number 8.
My number 8 game is Ra. It was originally produced by in the big box series of Alea and then by Rio Grande Games, and it's been out of print. It's a rather expensive game. I've seen it go for $90 on eBay, but Uberplay is about to reprint I'm sorry, when I say about to, they've already reprinted it. And Ra is just a really interesting game because you only have a few bidding tiles to use each turn, and there's a collection of tiles being put on the table, and you have to decide if it's worth it for you to take that one or to wait and take another one. And then when there's only one person left in the auction round, they can keep drawing, but if they draw too many tiles, they might bust and get nothing. And the tiles that they're drawing are Ra tiles, so everyone will chant Ra, 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 hoping they pull one of these tiles. And it's just a really fun, interesting game. It can be a bit nasty sometimes, when you win something that someone else wanted, and there's negative tiles that you can win too that destroy some of your tiles. But I enjoy the game, and I'm looking forward to picking up a copy of the new improved Uberplay version. So my number 8 game is Ra.
My number 8 game is For the People. For the People is Mark Herman. It's American Civil War. It was first put out by Avalon Hill, then GMT picked it up. It's currently out of production, but once again, it's on the P500. I own the Avalon Hill version, which I think it's got some flaws and some mistakes in it, and I think I've heard good things about the GMT version. And truthfully, I've only played it twice, and both times it's kind of like, but I've heard so many good things about it. I think that I just had bad experiences with other people. I like the battle. I like the war. I like the Civil War playing. I think it's perfect for a card-driven game with all the different events that's happened in the Civil War and everything. So I really want to give it a chance. And just on recommendations from other people alone, I'm going to make it my number 8. So that's For the People. Mark Herman.
And okay.
Number 7.
My number 7 is Mogul. Mogul is a very simple, small bidding game where you're bidding for different train shares. And the actual train share thing is okay, but I love the bidding aspect of this game. Basically, on your turn, you throw a coin in the pot in the middle to stay in the round. And if you want to drop out at any time, you take all the coins out of the middle. And so that's just a really fascinating aspect. I'm surprised no other game has picked up on it that I know of. If there's like 5 coins in a pot and you're wondering, should I throw another coin in to stay in because I really want this card? But at the same time, if I drop out now, I get all those coins. While if Joe's coming after me, he's saying, I hope Tom doesn't drop out and take all those coins, because then if he drops out, he gets nothing, and he has to pay a coin to stay in. It's a really, really intriguing bidding system. And before I go any further, let me mention that as I'm talking about these auction games, there are some games that include auctions that I think maybe are better than some of these, but I'm talking about the games on this list are games that the auction embodies the whole game. If the auction wasn't there, the game would be worthless playing. There are some games like Age of Steam which have auction in them, and it's a great, great game, but the auction is secondary to me to the actual game itself. So
Thank you for clarifying that, Tom, because I was over here just wondering, what in the world are you talking about?
Anyway, that was my number 7 game, Mogul.
Alrighty. Alright, let's see here. My number 7 is a game called Empire of the Sun. Now, Empire of the Sun's another Mark Herman game. This one's by GMT. It's currently in production. You can pick it up. This one simulates the Pacific theater of World War II. Now, unlike most of the card-driven games, this one's not point-to-point. This game is actually a hex-based game with cards, and so it's kind of an original thing here. But I've got the game. I've only played it once. I want to play it again, but I had a really good time the time I played it. It seems to be a really good game. I've heard a lot of people talking about it. I think it's worth picking up for your collection. So that's my game.
Okay,
Empire of the Sun.
Okay.
Number 6.
My number 6 game is Ys, spelled Y-S. It's a game of blind bidding, but not all blind bidding, because half the tokens you put out, you put face down so no one knows what they are, and the other half you put face up. And I found that really interesting, because not only in this game are you blind bidding trying to get different jewels, but you're also at the same time trying to affect the prices of those jewels to make some jewels worth more and some worth less. The game made by the same company, Istari Games, that came out this year, is Kalis, and that's already number 14 on the Board Game Geek rankings.
Kalis, the god of the Klingons.
Anyway, it's highly moving up there, and so YS was the first game made by them, and I'm very impressed by it. If you can pick up a copy of YS, or I keep calling it YS because when I look at it, it's hard for me to say East, how it's pronounced. So I'm just going to keep calling it YS. That's my number 6.
You don't think it was an accident they named a game Kalis, do you? I'm sure the guy's a Trekkie.
Anyway.
All right. My number, what number is this? Number 6? My number 6 is World War II Barbarossa to Berlin. This would have been my number 5, beating out number 5, and I'll just tell you number 5 now so you can skip it when it's number 5. My number 5 is also by Ted Racier and his Paths of Glory. The two were neck and neck for me, but they're both card-driven games, obviously, but one's about World War II, Paths of Glory, and World War II Barbarossa is about World War II. I like World War II much better as a theme to play, but the card-driven system just worked better with Paths of Glory. It seemed a little scripted in Barbarossa to Berlin, but that doesn't mean I didn't like the game. Matter of fact, I have the board laminated. I've got all the counters cut for it, clipped in the corners, and my friend Bob and I played 3 games of it one time, back to back to back.
Well, I have a question for you. Why is the popularity of Barbarossa to Berlin so much lower than Paths of Glory, even now? Like, for example, in the World Board Gaming Champions, they just dropped Barbarossa to Berlin because it was only like 4 players, while Paths of Glory had many more. Like
I said, I think that the World War II theme just works better. It just with the events and all that. With Barbarossa to Berlin, it's this big dynamic war, and there's so many more things and the cards have to be played in the right order. It just doesn't work as well. It's just not as fluid. Paths of Glory was groundbreaking. It was just really good, and it's still really good. I've got that, and I've got the deluxe version map that you can order from GMT. They offered the deluxe version map. It's like the same map that they put in. What's that block game of theirs?
I don't know.
Europe Engulfed.
Oh, Europe Engulfed.
They have the big fold-out cardboard map. They did the same thing, and I bought that. I like Paths of Glory better, but it just works better. And maybe someone could give a better more eloquent reason why, but it just seems to flow better than what I think.
Well, it seems like the majority of people agree with you.
Okay, well, you can skip my number 5 because I just gave it to you, so go ahead and do yours.
All right.
Number 5.
My number 5 is Aladdin's Dragons. Aladdin's Dragons is very similar to Ys, the game I just talked about. I think I like it a little bit better. It's a hard choice for me between those two, but I like Aladdin's Dragons because I like the theme. In Aladdin's Dragons, you're sending thieves in to steal treasures from the dragon's caves, and then you're trying to take these treasures and take them and buy things in the marketplace and go to the palace and bribe the guard to get in and take the really nice artifacts. And the game really works well thematically, and it's a really excellent blind bidding game. If you don't like blind bidding, then you probably won't like Aladdin's Dragons that much. But I really enjoyed it. In fact, I think I have 3 or 4 blind bidding games in my top auction games. I like blind bidding. I'm horrible at bluffing, but it doesn't mean I don't like it still. So that's my number 5 game. Joe already said that his number 5 was Paths of Glory. Mm-hmm. So moving on.
Number 4.
My number 4 game is Fists of Dragonstones, another blind bidding game by Bruno Feduti and Days of Wonder. Oh man, when this game came out, I just fell in love with it. It's almost in my top 10. It's a tremendous game of blind bidding, and I think the reason I don't put it in my top 10, and the reason a lot of people don't like it, is because you blind bid. You put your fist out with coins in, the whole game. But you're bidding on special characters, and there's a certain amount of characters that you bid on every round, but then there's a couple special ones that are thrown in each round, and each character lets you do a different ability, and your ultimate goal is to collect a certain amount of Dragonstones and get points. And the game's very, very simple, but because of the different special characters, it's very interesting. It's a bit chaotic, but I love it. There's gold coins and fairy gold and silver, and it's just a neat game. So that's my number 4 game, Fist of Dragonstones.
Cool. My number 4 game is Wilderness War. The Wilderness War is GMT Games 2001. Rob Winslow. Now, Wilderness War is the French-Indian War. So first off, it's got that going against it. It's not a very well-played or well-studied war. People don't know a whole lot about it. But it's a really fun game. I think it's one of my favorites of the card-driven games. The rules are very tight, meaning streamlined. There's not a lot of mistakes. And I guess my only complaint about the game would be that if after you've played it 4 or 5 times, 6 times like I have, the play becomes a little scripted. You kind of know what the players are going to do next, and it just kind of happens. And there are a few cards in the game that are really powerful, but overall it's still a really good game, and that's called Wilderness War, the French-Indian War. It's good.
Number 3.
My number 3 game is San Francisco. Now, Joe has a problem with some of the components of San Francisco, and I understand because
confusing.
They're a bit confusing, and I'm almost to the point where I'm going to mark up my game. And I hate to do that, but
I can't believe that you
marking
would do
up
that.
the game would make it a little easier. But you're basically in the game, you're bidding to put control markers down where you're trying to control property that's being rebuilt in San Francisco after the great earthquake in the 1800s. And as these auctions are just really fun because you either bid with money or you bid simultaneous auctions or you bid with influence, and there's several different kinds of auctions, and they just all work together to make a really interesting, intriguing game. I think it would be a really highly rated game if it didn't have a bit of color coordination with the problems. But if you can pick this game up, and if you don't mind marking your game up a little bit, I really highly recommend it. It's my number 3 game, San Francisco.
All right, my number 3 game is Sword of Rome. Sword of Rome is a newer game that's out by GMT by Ray Farrell. It's a really, really good game. It's multiplayer. It simulates, or not really simulate. It's hard to say simulates, but it's a game that's about the Italy, the Rome, the Greek, the Peloponnesians, how do you say that, Tom?
Carthaginians.
The Carthaginians. My tongue was getting all twisted. It's really good. It's multiplayer, which is a bonus. Anytime you can get 4 guys together and play a card-driven war game, it's great. It's I really, really enjoy it. Maybe it's just maybe my rating will go down in this one over time, but I've only had it for about a year now, and I've played it quite a bit. I just really, really like it. This is Sword of Rome by GMT.
All right.
Number 2.
And my number 2 game for auction games is Trom Fabric. Trom Fabric is being hopefully thanks, Joe. Being re-released by
You got the tongue twister.
Uberplay, and so that's why I don't own it right now. I'm still waiting for the reprint. But it's basically a game where you're bidding to get different actors and directors and actresses and sound effects in your movies. Game. And when you win a bid, you give the amount that you bid to the other players, split evenly between them. And that just means that the fewer auctions you win, the more money you have for future auctions. And you're trying to get enough stuff so that you can make the best movies of all time. Maybe you even get points if you have the worst movie of all time. And so the game is played with 20s movies and, people from
King Kong and,
gone by era, which some people may not like. And in a new game, they're doing caricatures of modern people, and some people have a problem with that. But I don't know. I just really like the theme. I like the theme about making movies, and if I did get the older version, I think I would put paste ups over it. But either way,
it's funny when you get the silly combinations.
It is. So that's my number 2 game is Trom Fabric.
My number 2 game is Hannibal Rome versus Carthage. Yes, this is the game that everyone talks about that's rated so high on Board Game Geek, and it cost about over $100 to buy it. Is it worth over $100? Yes. I say pick it up, pay the money. It's a really good game. It's Avalon Hill. The guy who made it is Mark Simonich. I'm not really sure how to pronounce his name. It just is a game of Rome versus Hannibal. Hannibal the Carthaginian who came over the Alps with the elephants and everything else. It's a game that will come down to the last turn or two every time you play it. It's very well balanced. It's just really eloquent. It's well designed, and there's a huge base of fans out there that play it. There's a lot of support for it on the internet. Just go ahead and just spend the money. I haven't heard any rumors of them reproducing it, so I don't think Avalon Hill or the Hasborg or anybody is going to give it the rights to the game anytime soon. So just go ahead and break down and buy the game. My goodness. You
6.
Did you just cut me off?
Number 5.
Whoa.
We're in a time warp here.
I guess we are.
Okay.
I have no idea how that happened.
All right.
Number 2.
No, we
And finally, number 1.
Sorry about that, folks. Okay, number 1 anyway is Modern Art for me. My favorite auction game. I just really enjoy the different kinds of auctions in it. There's blind bidding. There's frenzied. Just shout out the next bid auction. There's around the table once. There's name a price and someone has to pay it. There's 4 different kinds of auctions. You have to try and appraise it. But the cool thing I like about this game is that it's not all about winning the auctions. It's about selling paintings in an auction. You can not win a painting the entire game and win just because you've successfully sold your paintings for good money. And I think that's a really cool aspect. It's a bit mathematical, which I like. But I think Modern Art is one of the best. Well, I shouldn't say one of the best. I think it is the best auction game you can get. Modern Art, number 1.
Wow, number 1, Modern Art. All right, my number 1, by far, and head over heels, is We the People. This is We the People by Mark Herman, Avalon Hill. It's out of production. You can get it fairly cheap, under $100 on the internet. It is Revolutionary War. Every time you play it, if you're playing against a skilled player, it's going to come down to the last couple of die rolls. It's just awesome. There's no way to say it. And I'm excited to say that Mark Herman is remaking the game. He's going to call it Washington's War. They're going through the final things. Avalon Hill's not going to think it's going to be slightly changed. Unfortunately, I think he's got to get rid of the card-driven aspect of the battle, the no battle cards, which I'm really against because I love that part of the game. But basically, it's going to be exactly the same game.
Yes, I did see that. He posted on the internet. He said it is the same game with some minor changes.
Just so that for legal purposes. But wow, We the People, highly recommended. And if you can get me a copy of the special edition cards that are so rare, I'll love you forever. Just mail them to me. I'll be your friend.
Wow. So that's our top 10. That's our top 10. My top 10 auction games and Joe's
top 10 card-driven war games.
And thanks for listening to this episode. We hope that you continue to listen to us in the future. If there's any questions or comments you have, email us at thedicetower@gmail.com. We're always glad to take suggestions. Enter the Memoir contest. It's a good prize.
In rotten potato peels.
It's not rotten potato peels. It's a good prize.
No, that's a good prize. And congratulations to, who was it that won our report?
Anson Lee.
Anson Lee, congratulations. If you don't want the game, I'll take it.
Well, I doubt he's going to say that. So congratulations once again. And this is Tom Vassell.
And I'm Joe Stedman.
And we'll see you next time.
Well, there you go. Interestingly enough, the contest that we ran here, Memoir, for Memoir 44, is still my favorite contest that we ran because the responses that we got on whether it was a simulation or not, it was just fantastic. The guys at Days of Wonder said that they read the entries. They were really impressed with them, and it was a lot of fun. I really had a good time talking about it, and so I'm looking forward to seeing what kind of contest we run in the future. So anyway, that was the things that happened in this show. A couple things we talked about. One of the things I mentioned, the Dutch Revolution, never did get that played. It was just too long and just didn't look like it was my style game, and frankly, really wasn't Joe's either. I really don't think recently I've done a top 10 show in which auction games and modern art was certainly not number 1. A lot of changes there actually. So I'd recommend going and checking out my more recent list in auction games, and who knows, that may change in the future. Well, that's it for this show. Tune in soon. We'll be doing a show on our cooperative games. I'm very excited about that. So until next time, this is Tom Vassell, and you've been listening to the Dice Tower.
Thanks for joining us today. If you enjoyed this show, we ask you to check out the website, www.thedicetower.com, for more information about us and about the games we love. Want to support the show? Check out how you can do so at thedicetower.com and get your own Dice Tower dice boot. Until next week, this is Eric Summerer, and you've been listening to The Dice Tower.